A Warning to the Bi-Curious by J.R. Dullard. As channeled through Bob Lever. I have always been regarded as headstrong. Wilful is how my late father would have described me. I prefer determined myself, and never more so than on that frosty December day, when, whilst on a short solo walking holiday in the Yorkshire Dales, and ignoring the weather warnings, I set out to hike the 15 miles from Hetherington to Ganderford. The sky was bright enough when I set out, the temperature mild enough, and there were no indications that the predicted snowstorm would, in the event, actually occur. It had stayed mild and bright for the majority of the day. I had taken a circuitous route so that I might see some of the district's comelier attractions. First, Borrowdale Scar, a limestone ravine immortalised in both watercolours and oils by many a gifted artist, and, later, I was to be struck dumb by the sheer, breathtaking beauty of the Cockington Fosse, reputedly England's highest single-drop waterfall. And, indeed, had the weather been more clement, I dare say I would have stripped and bathed in its crystal-clear waters, for there would have been no one around to have observed my return to nature. But then the sky grew dark, and a cold north wind crept up behind me and swept across the wide, empty moor that lay ahead. It was the first indicator of what was to come. As I continued on my journey, the snow began to fall. Lightly at first, then with increasing density. It was a desolate location to find oneself in, so exposed to the elements, and a snowstorm was indeed coming. Of this I now had no doubt. You could feel it in the air. I scanned the horizon in search of shelter, but there was none to be seen, only a wild expanse of flat, barren moorland, in contrast to the rolling hills I had so far traversed. The day had been a long one. I was feeling fatigued, and was growing increasingly afeard that I had lost my way. I battled on as night fell, and it grew colder and colder, and the snow fell heavier and heavier. I admit my heart sank, wondering if I would come out of this alive. I had heard of weary travellers succumbing to the elements in such hostile environments, and it caused me some considerable consternation. But even now I thought that if I could just find shelter. Then the full force of the winter squall hit, and I was caught up in the violent, swirling blizzard that threatened to overpower me. Finally I fell to my knees, and called out then, "Esme!" It was not a cry for help, for in truth I expected none. No, it was a heartfelt cry to my Esme, my dear, darling Esme, to whom I was betrothed, and planned shortly to marry. Would she, I wondered, be made a widow before she became my bride? And it was only then that I saw it, a light in the distance. Dear God! A light! I scrambled full pelt towards it, half fearing it was a mirage, the wild imaginings of a desperate man. But no, there it was, a building, covered in a heavy mantle of snow, but there were lights inside. Dear God, lights inside! I fell upon the door, and hammered for all I was worth. The door opened, and I fell through the open doorway and into unconsciousness. I woke, and to my great joy found myself abed in a comfortable room with a blazing fire, the curtains open, and with the falling snow kept, thankfully, on the other side of the glass. "Thank God!" I exclaimed. "What for?" growled the old man who stood over my bed, examining me curiously from under heavy-lidded eyes. Well, for this, I got lost in the snow." "Ah," he replied, "you might consider you had a lucky escape." From the corner of my eye I saw my clothes, all of my clothes, folded neatly over the back of a chair. I realized then that I was naked, save for an overly large cotton nightshirt. "Did you put me to bed?" I asked. "I carried you up. The wife saw to you after that." I blushed then, for no woman had seen my naked form since early childhood, and I had grown since then, grown substantially. As if reading my mind, the old man stated, "Pay it no mind. She's seen it all as the missus. She's just off getting you some bread and broth. I expect you could do with the sustenance. You can thank her yourself in a minute." "And where am I?" "The Crackpot Inn." "An inn in the middle of nowhere?" "'Twasn't always so. Before they built the damn railroads, this was a popular route for horse and coaches. Now," he spread his hands, "we don't get much traffic. Mostly ramblers, and seldom at this time of year. We'd pretty much shut up shop till spring." His wife appeared then, a small, timid creature, and as aged as he. I expressed my gratitude profusely, both for the food and for her earlier care and attention. As I dove into my bowl of broth, she took my clothes from the chair, with the promise to return them once dried. As I ate, I regarded my saviour. He was a big, stout fellow, well over 6 foot, but hunched at the shoulders, as if he had spent a lifetime crouching to avoid low ceilings. He indicated my food. "We'll clear away in the morning. Just to let you know, we sleep late, but I'll shout to you when victuals are prepared. Sleep well." I thanked him again, and, with a nod, he made his exit, closing the door behind him. With my appetite sated, I snuffed the candle at my bedside and snuggled down for a night of blissful sleep. I don't know if it was the moonlight reflecting off the snow that caused the light in the room to be unusually bright, but my eyes were inexorably drawn in the direction of the window, and there, in the stream of light that beamed through the open curtains, I saw a girl, though I had not heard her enter. A beautiful young girl, barefoot and dressed in a loose-fitting white nightshift. Her hair was auburn, thick and long and loose about her shoulders. In truth, she was, quite simply, the most beautiful creature I had ever seen, and I found myself quite spellbound, utterly enchanted. She fixed her dark eyes upon me, and, reaching up to her shoulders, she slipped off the shoulder-straps and let the flimsy garment fall to the floor. She stepped out of it and brushed it aside with her foot. She stood then, looking to all the world like a goddess, her skin as smooth and pale as alabaster, her lips full and red, her curves voluptuous. She came to me then. I will not detail the events that took place that night. Suffice to say that promises I had made to my dear Esme, to remain pure until our wedding night, were not simply broken, but shattered. She had gone when I awoke, and it was only as I performed my morning ablutions, and stared at my reflection in the shaving mirror, that I registered the change, the perceptible change that had taken place overnight. For the face that stared back at me was now, unmistakably, the face of a man, and not a boy. I ate a late breakfast with the Protheroes, for I was to find that was the name of my rescuers, and to whom I introduced myself at last as Eugene Alexander Bolthole. There was no mention of any other resident, and I thought it best not to inquire. They seemed significantly improved in their demeanour since the night before, and he, though more than she, chatted amiably, inquiring into my travels and what had brought me to their door. The snow had stopped, but still lay heavy, and I reconciled myself to spending another night under their roof, to which they expressed no objection, even seemed to welcome it. There was little to do that day but wait. I read a while, ate, read some more, ate some more, and in the evening played dominoes with my host, whilst enjoying a tankard or two of the local brew, before making my excuses and retiring early for the night. I lay abed expectantly, wondering if my goddess would return. I closed my eyes, and willed it so. But when I opened them, saw a lad, though I had not heard him enter, a big, strapping, muscular lad, barefoot and dressed in a loose-fitting white nightshirt. His hair, too, was auburn, a thick mop of tousled curls. In truth, he was, quite simply, the most beautiful man I had ever seen, and, much to my surprise, I found myself equally spellbound and enchanted, as with my previous night's visitor. He fixed his dark eyes upon me, and, reaching back and grasping the cloth of his nightshirt, pulled it over his head, and cast the garment aside. He stood then, looking to all the world like a young god. His musculature defined, his skin as smooth and pale as alabaster, his lips full and red, his virility undeniable. He came to me then. I will not detail the events that took place that night. Suffice to say that I received an education worthy of a Greek scholar. He had gone when I woke, and it was only as I performed my morning ablutions and stared at my reflection in the shaving mirror that I registered the further change, the perceptible change that had taken place overnight. For I had matured still further, as was evidenced by the steel-grey lock of hair that had appeared upon my brow. I again ate a late breakfast with the Protheroes, who appeared even more chipper than the day before, and, dare I say, younger and less careworn than when we first met. Indeed, they both seemed unusually pleased to see me at table. "Ah," Mr. Prothero ejaculated. "I see you have met them, then?" Met who?" He looked to his wife and chuckled. "Them, the young gods." No need for embarrassment. I see they've had their way with you." Had their way with—" Mrs. Prothero smiled and volunteered. "To be honest, we've enjoyed the respite." "You know?" "No," Mr. Prothero exclaimed. "We've welcomed the distraction. They never leave us alone. Night after night they appear." "Insatiable," tittered Mrs. Prothero. "But who are they, then?" "Ah, that's the mystery," he replied. "How long ago was it, Mother?" "Must be 12 months gone." "And during such a storm as yourn, they turned up at our door, much as you did, but we were already abed, and didn't hear their hammering." "Poor lambs, frozen to death on the doorstep was how we found them." "Buried the both of them out back. Reckon they were travellers. No one ever came looking. That night she came to us." "Then him?" "Then the both of them." "Night after night. We're quite worn out." It was the first time Mrs. Prothero had looked concerned. "And how did you know they had come to me?" I asked. Firstly, because they left us alone, and secondly—" Mr. Prothero again looked to his wife. "Because you bear the sign." "The sign?" "Ah, they take their toll, they do." He pointed with his knife to my fringe. "Going grey so soon? Look at me. I'm only 35. My mouth fell agape. I would have placed him more to 75. "And the wife's only 29, he added. "Then why, in the name of heaven, haven't you left?" "Ah," he replied. "Would you?" I admit I had to wrestle with the notion, but finally declared, "But I must leave. My dear fiancée, Esme, will be frantic with worry already. I promised her—" "They'll both be back tonight," Mrs. Prothero posited. I shook my head violently, as if to shake the demons from my brain. "No, I owe it to Esme. I will go. I must." Mr. Prothero shrugged. "So be it," he sighed. "The weather has taken a turn for the better. I should be able to give you a ride into town this afternoon. But think carefully." In the event, I was to be immensely grateful for my headstrong nature, as I managed somehow, despite the call of my loins, and perhaps my heart, to leave that bedevilled place and return to the life I knew before. Esme was overjoyed to see me. She had thought me dead, and once reunited, we tearfully pledged never to be parted again. And so the marriage date was brought forward, and we were joined for evermore, with all due haste. We had had to abandon our plans for our honeymoon in Florence, due to the time of year, but my dearest darling said she would be happy to go with me anywhere. I think she was a little taken aback when I suggested an inn on the Yorkshire moors. Nevertheless, she indulged me.